Hey everybody out there, how's it going? I'm doing really well. I'm like about 6 weeks post-op at this point. It's like July 8th, I think. However, there's not really a whole lot of developments on the chest healing front, so not really going to bother doing a thorough update on that. However, that doesn't mean there are not things going on. In fact, I think on the gender slash transition front, the last couple of weeks have actually been kind of eventful. Mostly because I have decided to go ahead and ask many people in my social groups, not everyone, but quite a few people, to start trying out a new name for me. So now I am primarily going by Ian among my friends and also in a couple of little academic contexts that I'll talk about. I guess I should talk about sort of what prompted this change and why it's coming now. Basically, I have found that overall, I have made the most sort of decisions and conclusions about all of this gender stuff because, I mean, it's such a multifaceted thing, right? We make so many decisions as trans people about, exactly what steps to do, exactly how to present ourselves, exactly what medical steps to take, exactly what, like, legal and social steps to take. All of these things have, like, so many different components. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out which combination is going to work best for me. Trying to be really critical about it and, like, do exactly what feels right and no more. So anyway, I feel like the most of those decisions that I've made so far have kind of been process of elimination, trial and error kind of thing. That's just how I found that it's gone. I know a lot of other people find that they just have really powerful intuition about what they need to do in advance and they just go ahead and do it and that works and that's great. But I'm kind of an indecisive person and can be somewhat hesitant sometimes. And in any case, I just find that it's helpful to try things out and see if I like them. So, I mean, that's how it's been with the top surgery, for instance. It's like, I lived with boobs for a long time, and I found that I really, really disliked living with them, and I would prefer them to be gone. But even that, I started binding, I tried different kinds of binding, and then, I found out there were options, and then I pursued those options, and then I had top surgery, and now things are better. But, I knew that kind of through trial and error. Similarly with, like, passing and how I present myself. Like, it was, I started passing. I found I liked that, and this sort of was a cycle. Then I tried to further that that perception and try to be perceived more people in that way. So I just found with so many of these things, it's kind of like try it out, see if it works. So I figured, how am I going to know whether I would like to use a male name and use male pronouns if I don't try it? I mean, I have, had some experiences that would sort of suggest to me that that have led me to not really fully identify as a woman, like the whole, I hate female titles, I dislike certain ways that people interact with me when they perceive me that way, you know what I mean? But I know that female and male are not the only options out there. There are different pronouns, there are different gender identities that you can somewhat express with unisex names and so on. But I figured it's more difficult to try out a non-binary identity in a way, just because that's not very well recognized. And so while it's something that you can internally hold, I think in a lot of ways, and maybe people have other strategies, but I find that it's kind of difficult to really relate to people, at least strangers who you're not able to have a full conversation about this with, as a non-binary person. I can talk more about this in a different video, but long story short, I figured it'd be easier to sort of try out what would it be like living with a male name and male pronouns? Because in the past, I've basically been using my birth name with most people, and with a couple of people who I'd met in the last couple of months, I've been using my last name, which is also a male first name, so that's really nice. But there were negatives to that too. So I figured I would go ahead and try a male name and see how that felt. Why I'm doing it now is because I'm currently taking a summer German class, an intensive German reading course. Dork, I'm in grad school. I need to be able to read it, that's all. So I thought this class could actually be an interesting opportunity to try that out. The advantage is that most of the people in the class, including the instructor, importantly, do not know me. Like, they didn't know me before. They're mostly from other departments. And there were actually a couple of people in there who did know me before, who seemed to be, again, you can never really tell, seemed to be pretty progressive people and were friendly with me and everything. So I expected that, like, that would be nice in that most of the class would just be automatically on board, hopefully. And then the people I knew, I could email about that and just let them know. And so that would be an interesting way to try out both with a group of people who would have less of a preconceived idea of who I was, and yet also being able to try it with a couple of people who weren't like close friends of mine. So I was like, oh, try to figure something out before that class started. And then the major hurdle before that I wanted to get through was just talking with my mom about it. So I had done a little bit of prep work, like suggesting to my mom, like, I mean, I have had many talks with her about gender identity and sort of just quick updates. And then also as I've been in touch with her over the last several months about kind of how my feelings are evolving, what I'm hoping to do in the future. And so one of those things was I may try out a different name at some point. So just wanted to, let you know of that. And so you would be informed. But I hadn't really had a full on conversation where I like asked specific preferences of hers, or like if she had, between several names that I was thinking about, which one she liked better, or those sort of things. So I had that conversation with her, and it went quite well. I was so happy. It was quite a relief. I'd have kind of a difficult conversation with my brother the week before, and so it was just really nice for her to be as responsive as she was. I mean, she was like jumping up and down with joy, but like she listened, like she wasn't upset. She did not seem upset. She like, we had a whole conversation that was like even sometimes kind of lighthearted. So it was good. It was really good. She listened to everything that I had to say and like sort of shared what she was thinking and what she thought of the particular names. So I guess like the names that I had thought of were, mostly my criteria. I mean, I didn't have anything like really deep and profound behind it. I mostly just wanted to find a male name that I liked and seemed somewhat appropriate. But of the names that I was thinking of, many of them were kind of short and difficult to misspell or mispronounce because I just hate having to correct people on that. Like, people used to manage to mess up my old name, which I thought was pretty straightforward, but I guess there is one spelling variant, so sometimes you have to say it. But even that, like, I dislike that. I just want it to be simple and like not complicated and hard to mess up. I figure if I actually were to use it as a legal name at some point, then that will require enough bureaucratic nonsense without me having to additionally spell it and like, I don't know, make sure that they have it right. So I just wanted something kind of straightforward and like, like solid sounding name. And I think Ian is that. And like, I don't know, there are people that I know who have the name Ian that, so, but like not, oh, that was another thing, but not something that like, I know a ton of people with this, or especially I know a lot of trans people with this name. I wanted to avoid that to find something somewhat unique. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's nice. And importantly, also, I think it kind of suits me. Like, I was trying out several of the different names and just kind of looking at myself in the mirror and like saying the name to myself and like what sounds right. And I think that was the one that seemed most appropriate for just kind of my overall like image or whatever. And my mom liked it more than several of the other names, and she had one interesting criteria, which was that it should be like she had a preference for like biblical names. My parents had named me and my siblings all names from the Bible, specifically like Old Testament Hebrew names. And while Ian is not that, it is a Scottish version of John. So it's technically sort of biblical. I don't know. I kind of liked that it was not actually what we think of as a biblical name, but it kind of secretly is, so it's like sort of an incognito name. I don't know. I liked it, and it seemed to work. So I went ahead and started using that, and at first I had to send an email to the instructor of my class and the people in the class that knew me before. I didn't bother saying anything to the other people because if I introduce myself as that, they're hopefully going to comply. And everyone's been fine with it. I mean, no one's like said anything. The instructor has been right on just using that and like has not made a big deal about it at all. One person in my class, I think we were talking like before class or at some point during class, and I think he used my old name, but then like it was really nice. He like wrote me this little note. It's like, I'm really sorry, I think I used the wrong name. And I just said, I'm getting used to it too. Like, don't worry about it. I mean, I'm fortunate to be in a position where I'm not feeling really defensive about it yet. Like, it doesn't make me super, super dysphoric if someone uses my old name. So I'm fortunate in that way, but I guess whenever someone is like, you know, slips up or, you know, says, I'm not sure if I could really be able to handle that, I just try to assure them, like, I'm getting used to this too. It'll be okay. Like, you know, and just try to keep a light heart about it.